Welcome back, everyone, to the fourth iteration of the Kentucky Open Road Racing Series. This is the fourth race of the year, fourth race of my season as a road racer as well. I started in January on Zwift and moved our way into the Kentucky State Championship. Now, everybody's eligible to sign up for this one, but it's still fun saying you participated in it. Let's get into it and see how I did. The start of this race is just like all the others. We're starting out in the limbo between a neutral start and a face-off for opening position. No one's really fighting for the front, but if a gap happens to open, then people are going to take the opportunity. And for the layout of this course, it really doesn't matter if you're towards the front of the pack for the beginning of the race, because everything's relatively chill until you reach that first climb, which also has plenty of room to move throughout the width of the road. Anyway, I came with a couple of people today, and also Jesse as a teammate, but somehow I got roped into committing to the Cat 4 field instead of the Cat 5 field because my friends didn't want to travel and then only race 30 to 40 miles. So I was tasked with trying to keep up with a field that is much more difficult than what I am typically used to. Also, in this race, I had an especially difficult time recording while I was riding. I only recorded like 3 long videos when my intention was to record multiple shorter videos and then stitch them together to get a final product that shows all of the race. However, because of how I recorded this one, my camera died basically like halfway into the race. So let me show you what my current setup is for recording and why I was having trouble with it. Alright, so here's my setup right here. I have the Insta360 mounted up to the bottom of a Garmin mount. You can see when I turn it on, it has that little blue light there. And when you press record, it flashes a red light right there. And the issue is when I put my computer on, that red light is covered up. So I can't see if I'm recording or if I'm not recording. I'm sort of just assuming and guessing. And then I'm hitting that button on the back side to end the recording. So I'm relying solely on my memory, which is not a great thing to rely on. I am so forgetful, and recording is one of them. I didn't know if I was recording or not recording, so I just left it on for, I think my first clip was 48 minutes and then my second was 25 minutes, and that's all she wrote. That's all I got. Getting back into the race, which is what I'm hoping you all are actually coming for, not to hear me complain. Everything went off pretty swimmingly. Out of the gates, the P123s were let out a couple minutes before us Cat 4s. And they were actually racing 72 miles as opposed to ours 58 or 60, whatever we were doing. And remember that because it'll be quite the commotion in a couple of miles. But everything about this race was pretty good. The weather was relatively cool. I think we lucked out in the low to mid 70s. And the race being at 10 a.m. instead of the typical 8 to 8:30 start gives me time to sleep in the morning and still gets the race at a decent hour. Although admittedly, I should have got there a bit earlier to film some B-roll for y'all. We finally made it to the first climb, which is a longer, more gradual one, which has its positives and negatives for me. Being after a spell of low effort, I had enough energy to stay with the group for the most part, but getting left behind just a tad and having to make up an extra effort on that following plateau. But this is where we hit the 1, 2, 3s, yeah. The 4s made it up to the back of the higher cat, and this is where all the confusion came into play. Now, I understand that if you're going a shorter distance, that you can manage a higher speed for a longer amount of time, but being a relatively small difference and distance, and what I would call a fairly large difference in fitness and ability, I would have thought that the chances of catching up to the front group would have been minimal. However, the two things that the 1, 2, 3s have that isn't really a part of Cat 4 racing are team tactics and strategies. Perhaps a certain group was controlling the front of the race and really slowing down the pace, or maybe there was simply nobody that wanted to commit to the effort of pulling the group. But if you were in that 1, 2, 3 group, let me know what was happening, or maybe that's just a typical speed and how you guys do it. Just comment below and let me know. But you can see the moto officials stopping the 1, 2, 3s and letting us pass. Now this created a gap wider than the Red Sea. It made me use way more effort than I should have at the moment. And just as I closed the gap, not even 1 minute later, the 1, 2, 3s come back and sprint right past us. And to make matters even worse, as I'm recovering from closing the gap from the first pass, the people that are heading our peloton decide that they're going to try and stick to the back of the passing group to maintain speed and minimize effort, which, I mean, I understand why. I probably do it too, but I was getting the butt end of all of it due to me being at the back of our group. So we continue on into the second half of the first lap. The pace is high because it is Cat 4. I'm not used to it, but it's manageable. I'm keeping up, sort of getting pushed off the back on little climbs, but maintaining the speed. And then we get to mile 22. Mile 22 has a downhill and then a large uphill. And the uphill is where my story takes a little bit of a turn. I hit my max speed on this downhill at 46 miles per hour, and I'm moving pretty well. And from that tiny bit of recon I did on the course, I knew that there was a pretty steep uphill coming. Now, I'm not trying to use this as an excuse because I also broke the rules here, but before the beginning of the race, we were told about a very strict yellow line policy. Breaking that rule wouldn't be tolerated, so I had that in my head when I was coming into this almost 90-degree bend to start the hill. Because I think everyone could see that the best line would have been to cut it close on the left side of the barrier in order to maintain the most speed. But I had an angel and a devil on my shoulder at this moment. Initially, I sided with that angel telling me to stay on this side of the road that was dedicated to us. But then I eventually gave in to the devil that said, cut the corner and try to maintain as much speed as you can. I had some momentum coming in, but the only reason I bring this up is because this is where I get dropped in the race. I feel like I had some potential to stick on if I carried my momentum better into the hill, but realistically I was probably getting dropped on the long climb that started the following lap anyway. So I'll skip around a bit here, but you can see initially that I get passed by a bunch of people that somehow still have energy after pushing that hill. But eventually I regain my bearings, although my heart rate really doesn't lower. So I'm pushing on E here, and I give a really good sustained effort for about 3 miles. But I eventually see Alan after he dropped back from getting a cramp, and although I thought maybe we could continue to push to make up a growing gap, I ultimately decided to quit the pursuit.
Well, damn.
I know. I was gonna keep pushing, but I knew by the next climb I would have been dropped too, so I might as well just stick together.
If I would have caught up, I don't think I would have been on.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's no point in both of us doing work. I'll go first.
As we push through what seems like untouched roads, I decided to become the shot caller for the group, going through a 30-second rotation in our pace line, calling out each interval to make it easier for the person in front to focus on their job. With only 4 people and a mission to get to the finish line as fast as possible, we managed to hold an average of 22 miles per hour for a fifth of the race. We were managing an average speed that was the same as the leading group. At this rate, we weren't going to catch the front group, but I don't think that was a mission anymore. It seems like everyone in our group had a shared interest in riding as efficiently as possible for as long as possible, and we did just that. We lose one person in our group to a cramp at the bottom of the final hill in the first lap. As we progress up the hill, we make it to the neutral support, and I was so happy to see them.
My Lord and Savior!
Back. Go be at the tapper.
Woo! Thank you. Sorry. I thought it would be cool. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Finishing the last hill of the first lap, I think our group is sitting somewhere around 17th through 19th place. This is where my Insta360 dies, and the remaining 19 to 20 miles are a barren wasteland. I think we see one person, and that was Ken. He cramped up on that final climb. Other than that, I secured 17th place for the Kentucky State Championship. I was pretty happy with my result given that I was riding up a category, and I wanted to give a special thank you to Gary. He does a great job putting on the race. He has some really big things planned for next year, and also thank you to the sponsors of the race for making the series possible. My last thank you goes to all of you guys for watching. Consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.